All right. I think we're up and live. So
Cool.
if that's the case, we can get started. I'll check the recording after this and see how everything's going. But I mean, if we can have a powerful discussion here around overcoming fear, overcoming failure, everything that's holding you back, many people will benefit as well.
Hope so.
I guess we can start by hearing a little bit about you and your story, and I guess hearing where you're at, because a lot of people, I coach a lot of entrepreneurs, I coach a lot of people who are starting online businesses, and so many are just, they're stuck in the how, they're stuck in the, I don't know what to do next. How do I make this right? What's going to help me move forward the most? How do I, tick off the to-do list and get that needle moving? And it's crazy how many people are saying, can you help me overcome the fear of procrastination, the fear of, the fear of failure. And so many have this perfectionistic mentality. I need to make it perfect before I move forward. And then at some level, you can understand that's what's stopping you moving forward. So if that's the internal pattern that you want to shift right now, I'd love to hear a bit more about how this plays a role in your life and what's your situation? What do you think is holding you back the most?
Wow, where do I start? So you asked me to tell my story. So you want me to tell my story?
Give me a little bit of insight on where you're at right now in terms of the situation, what you're looking to make perfect, and what's your outcome? Where's your overall situation? What is it that you're wanting to work on?
Okay, yeah, sure. So just real briefly, so I'm a medical device consultant / coach teacher for Japan. My main clients are medical device companies in Japan that I provide high-level English business communication courses. And that's going fine. But what I'm really stuck in right now is I saw an opportunity to provide training for English teachers in Japan because two things. In order for me to scale my business, I need to hire teachers. I can't teach all the classes myself. I have hired one teacher. It's great, which has freed me up to focus more on sales and marketing. But in order to hire a teacher, they need to be somewhat trained in my niche of medical devices. So I said, I'll put together a training program for them. So I've been working on this literally for over a year. And so that tells you right there that I'm stuck. I keep getting close. I keep setting dates that I'm going to launch it, and then I delay.
Okay.
And part of that, as you mentioned, the wanting perfection, fear of failure, those are two things. And the thing that I've identified now is the content for the training is not done. So I started doing Facebook Lives every day over the summer to start getting content that later I could repackage as part of this training, because my Facebook Lives are directed towards those English teachers. So I'm trying to build a following in Japan. But what I've identified is my perfectionism wants to have the course completely finished, a high quality product, before I launch it. And so that's overwhelming because it's, how many weeks do I do? 4 weeks, 6 weeks, how many hours? So it's just this ongoing, never ending process. And so then I've had other business coaches and, actual coaches and then mentors that I've read about, books, successful people say, hey, you don't need the finished product. Just go, as long as you're one step ahead, just go ahead and launch it. Just prepare the first module and go for it. And so I'm like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But I still am stuck because my background of working for a medical device company, medical devices are very regulated products, working at large companies. You never launch a product that's half finished. you launch a finished product. So part of that's my experience. That's what I know.
Okay.
And so then I struggle. Is that holding me back, or do I actually need to just follow and do a finished product? So, and then I end up doing nothing. I go back and forth. So
yeah. Surprise, surprise, hey. We've all been there when we make things complicated and when we get in our head of asking ourselves what the right thing is to do. That's really what it comes down to, is we just tell ourselves, I might as well not do anything, so I don't know how to do it, don't know how to move forward, right? So to summarize, just so I hear you correctly, it's what you're basically saying is you're launching this program for English teachers who are going to, then you're going to teach them areas of your niche. So with medical devices, there in Japan, you're teaching them about the niche and teaching them about that so that they can get into, is it a different program or is it just learning about this type of industry?
The title, it's basically Get Certified to Teach Medical Device English in Japan by my institute, Cranefield Institute.
Great.
And it's learning, so it's two things: learning about the niche, as you said, medical device, what's the opportunity there, and then two, teaching my system, my
cool
system. So it's so the course won't be free. There will be free aspects to it, but ultimately this is to train teachers and to monetize this system.
Okay, great. I'm like excited while you're hearing about it. I can hear the opportunity. So the question that comes to my mind, first of all, we always need to understand what it is that's driving us, right? So what got you into this, and what's your initial drive? What's your calling to start something like this, to bring on more of a team, to bring on more English teachers, to create a program for them? What's that sort of drive for you?
Well, that's a great question, because I've recently identified that. To back up, this teaching English in Japan with my background in medical devices, I had to overcome a lot of pride to do this, because initially I wanted to do consulting for medical device companies, not teach English. But recently, because I've hired a teacher, we've come up with a system that we believe is pretty revolutionary. Now I'm really excited. I have this passion to basically to change how English is taught in Japan, because as you may know, so many Japanese people have trouble speaking English, even though everybody learns it for years and years and years. So, and everybody knows in Japan, the education system is messed up. So now I have this drive, this passion to, create a following of teachers in Japan who are passionate about teaching, who want their Japanese students to learn English quicker with a system that's effective and proven. And the ultimate goal is, because we believe in it, if I get enough people on board that say, hey, this works, and more teachers take this system, and then they can help Japanese improve their English, improve their speaking. This could eventually have a very positive impact on the whole education system in Japan.
What kind of impact?
That's exciting.
What kind of impact? When you're shifting the way English is taught in Japan in a much, what it seems, a quicker, more efficient way, why is that exciting for you? Why is that passion coming up? Why is that such a worthwhile journey to go on?
Well, it goes back to my first passion of medical devices and helping patients and companies that provide, healthcare benefits, treatments to people who are sick. So it's, helping society, helping patients. But the frustration is that so many companies in Japan, medical device companies, and this is just starting with medical device. Hopefully this will grow to other areas. But it's very frustrating to see so many Japanese workers and companies struggle with English, and see this frustration not only with them, but the frustration with the foreign companies, the foreign manufacturers, because it's an international global economy. And this is a huge pain point for all of Japan. I mean, the government's like, how do we, improve the level of English? And so, my goal is to see Japanese come into the 21st century and speak English like a European speaks English,
Yeah.
who studies the same amount, but to be able to really, so it's basically getting to the point where I don't have a job anymore.
Yeah. And it's all because you have the underlying hunger to create a shift, to create the medical device field to expand so that you can help as many people as can be helped through this medium, right? If more Japanese can learn English in a better way and understand English at a different level, then that industry can go to the next level and help more people. Is that really what you're saying?
Yeah, help more people have a more positive impact on society, and not just medical devices, but then in other industries as well in Japan.
Because the more they understand English, the more they can capitalize on the international markets and be able to communicate at a different level with other nations.
Yeah, and it's also kind of going up against the big, it's very big English conversation schools in Japan. Yeah. And that kind of pisses me off because this industry makes its money on not improving people's English in Japan.
Yeah.
Because they're using old techniques. They're basically taking advantage of this poor education system, and they provide teachers who are not qualified, who are not trained. Japanese, spend money learning English, but they never improve. And these companies just they're really not making an impact on the society. So, I was inspired I read an article about Netflix, the original, not Reed Hastings, but the original CEO of Netflix back in the 90s, when they first started Netflix as mail DVDs. He went to Blockbuster and asked Blockbuster to buy them. And in his story, he said that the president of Blockbuster laughed because he wanted $50 million for Netflix. Well, we know what happened. Blockbuster went out of business, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, my vision, my dream is not to put these large English schools out of business, but I want to provide something that competes with them and provides a better, more effective way to teach English in Japan and for Japanese to learn English so they can have a more positive impact.
Okay, great. So this program that you're delaying the launch of is doing so because you have a thought that says, I don't know when to start. I don't know how many weeks it needs to be, 4, 6, 8, whatever. I don't know how to put it in place, despite a lot of business coaches telling you to launch before it's ready and progress as you move along. There's something holding you back there. Does it feel internally, sort of when your mind's out of the way, in your body, does it feel like a big calling to start this? And does it feel like a pull in order to have this program in place and have people go through it and feel the improvements from it?
Well, to be honest, I feel like my core is telling me the product needs to be finished before I launch. But I feel pressure from coaches and external factors saying, no, just do it, just do it. Yeah. And so I feel that pressure. I need to move forward, but something's holding me back. And I don't think it's fear. It's just wanting to create a product. And coaches say, yeah, but what if the product fails? What if it doesn't sell? But then my idea is, but I believe in it. So, okay, it fails. So what? But I want to produce a quality product.
Okay, great.
To launch. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's why I'm stuck.
So a lot of people in this scenario, a lot of coaches, a lot of business owners, a lot of people who are growing business online who are stuck with procrastination or, just taking a leap and moving forward. A lot of them they'll do sort of the right thing and they'll sort of reframe their story, right? And they'll sort of reframe and they'll change their thoughts, or they might even distract themselves from their thoughts, which is it's a good first step. It's a really good first step because you can allow yourself to realize that you are not your thoughts, right? And that the feelings that are coming up to just do with your thoughts, not with you. And so it's a really good first step. What a lot of people do miss, however, is that there is an emotion within you that you're at conflict with. It's almost like you're resisting what's happening within. So let me ask you this. What's the worst case scenario here? What are you, if you were to launch too early, or you to launch and it not go right, or you don't have many people go through it and they complain, what is the worst case scenario for you? What feels like the biggest fear at the moment?
I guess that it doesn't sell.
Doesn't sell. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what do you feel? Let's put yourself in the scenario where it doesn't sell. No one goes through it, despite how much effort, energy, time,
Sure.
investment you get into it, and then it doesn't sell. What's that immediate emotion that comes up in you?
Tweak it. Oh, emotion. Probably, this is kind of my fatalistic side, I think. I'd probably be like, yeah, if it doesn't sell, it's like, yeah, I knew it wouldn't sell. So I'd be
Okay, great.
probably, that's how I would probably interpret
Okay.
it.
Okay, cool. And what if you kept tweaking it and it never sold? What if you never had anyone go through it despite working on it?
I would probably keep working on it.
Yeah.
Keep
And
tweaking.
even if you're tweaking it and no one goes through it and it doesn't sell, not once, not one person goes through it, what's the emotion that goes through your body when you imagine that scenario?
The emotion. Well, I would be frustrated.
Okay.
Um,
Is frustration the major emotion that comes up, or is it something else?
Probably frustrated because it's something I believe in, and
Yeah.
it's like, why can't people get it?
Yeah.
So I would keep tweaking it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give up on it because I believe in it.
That's exactly right. Cool.
So
this is where
that's
what
why
a lot of people will
frustration
do.
is what, yeah.
Is what a lot of people will do, because this resonates with me as well. Because if the reason why you feel frustrated is because you have an unwritten story in your head that says this needs to sell to be successful. My success, my internal success, almost attached to your internal worthiness, is dependent upon if this sells or not. A lot of people who follow Tony Robbins or many other big coaching speakers will know that every fear comes down to the fear of not being enough, right? And so from inside your head, inside your internal world, you have a written rule that says, if this doesn't sell at some level, that means something about me. And so therefore you start to tweak the external world. I'll keep tweaking the program. I'll keep tweaking this. I'll find a way that works so that I can feel whatever I want to feel internally. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in that, what you're actually neglecting is the very thing inside you that's bringing up frustration. So many entrepreneurs, many business owners will start an online business and they'll grow it and they'll tweak it and they'll do whatever, they'll hustle along, find as many tools, tactics, strategies as they can to get the business in a place where all of a sudden they can start to feel what they want to feel internally, whether that be freedom, whether that be security, whether that be significance, whether that be love. But can you see how if you're dependent upon something external to happen in order for you to feel a certain way, can you see why that would lead to frustration?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because most of the things that happen externally is outside of our control. It is very, despite what a lot of people think, it is outside your control whether someone signs up or not, whether someone goes through the program. You can't control their behaviors and their decisions. You may influence by how you show up, but ultimately you can't control that. So that would lead to an area of frustration for you. What is not seen is the very internal conflict within you that says this needs to happen for me to feel like I'm enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I actually, what you're saying is I identify this more with something else.
Okay.
Because you're hitting something that I really feel with another client that I'm doing a digital marketing project for. They're paying me, okay? Because this English teaching thing is not, it's like you said, I can't control it. I haven't even launched it yet. I'm like predicting how I would feel if it didn't sell, but it's almost irrelevant to me what you're saying, because it's like, okay, it doesn't sell. I'm not selling it now. I can't really control it. But what you're saying is I'm actually doing a project for a company that's paying me and it has bad results, or it's not the results I want. So I feel like that. I feel frustrated. I feel like I'm ripping off the company. I feel like they're paying me too much. I feel like I need results. What is it? What is it in me that's lacking? Why can't I get results? They're paying me. And so that is really frustrating.
Yeah. And when you can think about this, almost like when you need something, when you need that result so bad, you're cutting off your creativity in order to get that result. One saying I've been resonating in my head time and time again, if you really do want something, you're not ready to receive it. Right? Because if you truly do want something, what you're saying is, I need that thing externally to feel what I want to feel internally. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you're going after that, you're saying, I need it, and you're like desperate for it. You're like, I need these results. How creative is your brain being in order to come up with, resourceful solutions to get that?
I hear you. So what I end up doing is I just keep, like the definition of insanity. I just keep doing the same thing, tweak it a little bit. And it's like,
yeah,
I need to be more creative and maybe just like change the whole process. I don't know.
So instead of when you're not getting the results for a client, instead of trying to change the results so you can feel a certain way, what would it be like if you were to solve the internal conflict within you that says, I need to get that to feel a certain way, and that conflict was to resolve, and then you would start feeling resourceful internally first? Do you think you'll be in a safe space to be resourceful enough to come up with creative solutions? Do you think that could be possible?
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth on that with this client. I try different things. But the other frustrating thing with the client is they're very slow to respond to many things.
Well, that's outside your control as well, right? What's within your control is how you respond and how you show up and the emotions that are generated within you.
Yeah. So I feel guilty sometimes of them paying me.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Well, let's do this. So what's the worst case scenario for that circumstance? So for that, when you're getting that result,
they stop the contract and I go down in cash flow. That's a huge fear I have.
Yes. When you go down in cash flow,
if I lose the client,
I had the same fear of the reducing cash flow, the reducing money. What I did was end up meditating for 6 hours in a day, just so I could do this exercise we're about to do.
Okay.
And go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And everyone's seen how much I've expanded in the last couple months, and it's been through this type of work. So what I'll have you do is that fear of running out of money, that fear of going broke, that fear of losing the client so you don't have the cash flow, and then what the hell am I to do? Right, whatever goes on in your head. Do you know what that fear feels like?
Yeah, it's paralyzing, man.
Exactly. What many people do is they resist that. They say, I shouldn't be
Mm.
feeling this way. And
Mm.
therefore they go and distract themselves. One way to distract yourself is try and get that result so you don't feel this way.
I try harder. I just, here, look at my to-do list for today. I haven't even started.
Yeah.
Every day it's like I have to do 100 things.
Yeah, exactly. My to-do list, I'll show you after this. It's literally got nothing on it. But it's a
Meditate.
lot meditate, but it's a lot, it's sitting in my creativity where I have the inspiration to come up with these amazing ideas and implement and act on it once the fear subsided. Powerful stuff. And so instead of neglecting this fear and trying to change a result so you don't feel the fear or thinking something's wrong or thinking something needs to change, what you may want to do is take a deep breath and finally allow that fear to be there. All right, so are you willing to do this for a couple of minutes?
Yeah, sure.
I'll coach you through it. This will be profound. So what I want you to do is just to take a deep breath, because when you take a deep breath, it's almost like it brings you back to this moment. Right? It brings you back to this moment. And so if you were to take a deep breath right now and just feel that fear, the fear of losing the cash flow, the fear of going broke, the fear of losing the client, losing that security, whatever it may feel like to you, just feel that in your body and just continue to take a deep breath, but to feel that energy, feel that fear in your body, feel that emotion circulate. And instead of resisting it, instead of almost fearing it, what you might want to do is just allow that emotion to be there and feel it in your body and welcome it. Instead of resisting it, instead of avoiding it, finally just welcome it and provide a safe space for it to be there. And although
What do you mean? What do you mean provide a safe space?
Yeah, so, well, you can do this. Can you feel the fear at the moment? Can you feel what it's like in your body?
Yeah, so I actually am, I have a very visual sensation of the fear. It's like bubbles just enveloping my whole body, and it's
Okay,
like
great.
in, and it's about to crush me.
Okay, great. Awesome. Feel that. Welcome it. Welcome. I actually love the process of welcoming this fear and welcoming this emotion, because while you feel it, what you'll be doing consciously or unconsciously is providing a safe space for a side of you that doesn't feel enough. I'll explain that in a different way. As we grow up, we get love in a very certain way, and that shifts our mind. It shifts our patterns of what we need to do and who we need to be in order to be enough. So imagine a little 5-year-old self, and this side of you has unconsciously gotten love and feeling like you're enough for being successful, right? So when we feel like we don't have enough money, or when we feel like we're going broke, the reason why that triggers within us to feel like we're not enough is because that's an old pattern of when we were 5 years old, unconsciously or consciously or unconsciously, that says, I need to be this way and this needs to happen in order for me to feel like I'm enough, so that I'm worthy of that love that matters the most to me. So whether that resonates or not, it really doesn't matter. What matters most is for you to feel this in your body and welcome it and actually feel it. If those bubbles are coming down and it's like engulfing you, welcome that. Because what you may find and what you may notice is that you're not the fear. You're the person observing the fear. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So you are not the fear. You're the one observing the fear. You're the being observing the fear, and you're just observing it go through your body. And
yeah, I'm definitely aware that it's external, that it's
okay, great.
coming, it's trying to crush me and
Yeah,
surround.
great. So describe to me quickly what that feels like. What does it physically feel like in your body? Where do you feel it? Is it your head, your
My
throat, your
chest, right
chest?
here. It's
Okay,
like,
great.
I'm like, well, I'm being enveloped, but I feel pain here,
Okay,
right in
cool.
the center of my core.
Awesome. Welcome that, and feel it. Truly welcome it and feel it. Instead of resisting it, you're finally just going to allow it to be there, and just pay very close attention to what it feels like. You may want to even exaggerate a little bit and intensify it a little bit, just so you can pay attention to what it's doing. Now, does it feel heavy? Is it pulsating? Is it a heat? What does it physically feel like when you pay attention to your body?
More pulsating. It's like causing my, breathing to increase, my heart rate to increase. It's something,
Great.
It's causing me to be worried and panicky and anxiety, all that.
Yeah, great. So when you feel that, I want you to pay very close attention to the physical sensations of your body as you welcome it to be there, and pay very close attention to what it's doing, if it shifts, if it changes. But as it allows it to be there, the reason why you're allowing it to be there is because a part of you knows it's safe enough to love that side, to love that process, to love that side of you that you've been resisting in the past. So for example, no longer are you avoiding it. No longer are you distracting yourself from it. No longer are you resisting it. But the fact you're able to physically feel it and even just welcome it and say, yeah, I can feel this, means you're safe enough. You have this loving energy. You're providing a loving, safe space for it to just be there. Does that make sense?
I don't know if it makes sense because I don't like it. I am accepting it, but it makes me. It reminds me of having this feeling before of past pain.
Yes, exactly. So this is exactly why we need to do this.
Yeah, I associate this with a lot of past pain.
So you're allowing it to be there, but you still have resistance to it. You're still saying, I don't like this.
Yeah, because I don't.
What if you were to love this? What if you were to love it? What if this is the very pattern? What if this is the very pattern that's stopping you accessing the level of creativity that it takes to actually get your external and internal results? What if this is the very pattern that's restricting your immense, passionate self from going out there and accomplishing this huge goal that you have?
I can accept that, but what do you mean love it?
Yeah, so you can truly just love it. For example, if you had a 5-year-old, like someone else's child, come up to you and say, I just have so much fear. I just have so much fear that I'm not enough if I don't make enough money. Right? What would you do? Would you say, okay, let's go out and accomplish it. Let's go out and smash it. Let's go out and overcome that fear?
No, I would say, what are you worrying about it? You're 5 years old.
Nah. But if they're totally in fear, saying that isn't gonna. But you're like, come on, little kid. You're only 5.
Sure.
What would you do?
I'd probably hug them, right?
Exactly. So why is it any different from when you have fear?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
But how do you hug? Yeah. So you say hug yourself.
So when so you can embrace it. You can embrace this feeling. Because this feeling, what you may find is that this feeling actually isn't that bad when you allow it, when you actually love it, right? One saying that I love is the aim of life is not to feel happy, it's to feel. The aim of life is to feel. It's to feel every emotion, comfortable or uncomfortable. And that's what you're doing at the moment. Your perfect demonstration is to feel it without judgment, and to feel it without resistance. Right? Just like the 5-year-old, you wouldn't go up to the 5-year-old and say, you shouldn't be feeling this way.
Yeah.
You just give them a hug and provide unconditional love anyway.
Yeah.
That's the unconditional love you're giving yourself when you allow yourself to feel it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what are you feeling internally now? What are you physically feeling in your body right now?
It's painful.
Great.
It's warm. God, I'm probably even sweating.
Yeah, perfect.
Because
That
I
should be.
feel it. It's just like this, rock there, and it hurts, and it's
Yeah.
hot, and
Yeah.
it's causing me to think of past pain in my brain. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But as listening to you, the story of the 5-year-old, I'm like, okay, visualizing. Okay, I hug it, but it's still there.
Yeah. It is still
Not
there.
going away.
It is still there. And the idea is not for it to go away.
Yeah, and I want it to go away.
Exactly. That's why it's still there. It's still there because you think it shouldn't be there. It's still there because you don't want it to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
What about
So
if you want it to be there? What if you love it? What if you were just able to love the fear? All it is an emotion. All it is a subtle vibration in your body. Your mind makes it mean something else. Your mind makes it mean this is pain and I shouldn't be feeling this way.
Yeah.
When you're just present to your body, all it is a sensation. That's all it is. If you were able to feel this, and because you felt it, you were able to have the best life possible. What if you were able to feel this, and because you felt it, you were able to make 5 million a year and have the best relationships in your life and experience everything you wanted to experience in your life and be an example and change the world and change how Japan interprets English and how they're trained and how they're educated around English and now their economy is booming because of their English skills. What if you were able to feel this, and because you felt it and because you tapped into a different side of yourself, you were able to accomplish all of that?
Yeah, but even more, that sounds all good, but what I thought my true desire, and I've had glimpses of this recently, and I'm maybe making a connection, is I really want to connect with people.
Yeah.
I want to love them and accept them, not judge them,
Yeah.
in order to help them and support them.
Yeah.
And so what I'm thinking is, I think the reason I have trouble connecting with people is because when I see their pain, I don't want to deal with that.
Do you now know why?
But feeling this pain here, I feel like it, as I'm embracing it, I'm able to embrace other people's pain.
Yes.
and be passionate. So I'm actually feeling that.
Yes, it's never got anything to do with the other people. The reason why you cut them off, the reason why you want to have a relationship and love other people unconditionally is because you haven't done it for yourself. That's what you desire for yourself, really.
Yep.
And so you're totally spot on. When you start feeling that and you start feeling the unconditional love for yourself, for all sides of you, even the sides of you that can go broke, you open yourself up to start loving other people unconditionally in exactly the same way, without judgment. Because when you judge other people, all you're doing is judging a part of yourself.
Yeah.
That's all that's happening. So when you allow that space to be there, when you allow that fear to be there and you feel that heaviness in your chest and you actually welcome it, right? You actually welcome it without resistance. And it should be there because it is there. And it's there not because of anything external, not because of any pain, but because of a pattern you have from when you were younger. You have a pattern, a blueprint that says I should or shouldn't be a certain way in order for me to be enough. Within that pattern is a mindset, a story that says I need enough money in order for me to feel like I'm enough so that I'm worthy of love. When you feel that fear and you welcome it and you allow it without any judgment, without any resistance, right? Without any thought of this shouldn't be here or it needs to go away. What you're doing is you're providing, unconsciously, you're providing love for that 5-year-old that says, I need to have money to be enough. I won't be enough if I'm broke. So when you take a deep breath and you physically feel that fear and you just breathe with it and you allow it to be there, you're totally spot on. When you feel that and you feel the unconditional love for yourself, you start feeling the unconditional love for other people, because you start having more self-love. You start judging yourself less. You judge other people less. Right? And you're not feeling it so it can go away. You're feeling it.
But what if it doesn't go away? Do I just keep embracing and see what happens?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so pay attention to it now.
Yeah.
Pay attention to it now and physically feel it and just allow it to be there and welcome it.
It's not
and
going away.
It's not meant to. You still want it to go away, right?
Well, no, because now I'm realizing, okay, I'm accepting it. I'm loving it. It says like, okay, is
Great.
this gonna be the mode I'm in now?
Yeah. Why would that be a bad thing?
Because I don't like it.
There you go. I told you. You said, no, I'm loving it. But now you're saying, no, I don't like it. Right? You're telling me I'm loving it. You're telling me I'm loving it. But now you're saying, I don't want it to be there. I don't like it.
I'm keeping it there. I'm trying, but it's just like,
just pay attention to it. Now, physically, this will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. Describe to me what it's like in your body now. What are you feeling?
it's to say, I mean, it's still, heavy here. Right?
Yeah.
It's hot. It's like burning. I feel like it just wants to take over. It wants it wants to control my life, control me.
Okay, cool. What would you need to believe in order to love this side unconditionally? In order for you to want it to be there, in order for you to love it, what would you need to believe?
Well, I don't know if this is right, but the fear is that I would need to believe that this is my natural state.
Mm-hmm. What if this is your natural state? What if you were meant to feel this? What if you were meant to feel this and it's all part of your journey and all part of your evolution?
Then I feel like, oh, I'm a martyr, right? I feel like, oh man, so this is yeah. Because the thing, I just had this conversation with my wife this morning, how I'm naturally kind of introverted, but sometimes I become really extroverted and I'm like really loving to people and I just get into the moment. And I'm like, I just had this conversation with her. I'm like, why do I do this? Why am I like, she's like, oh, are you bipolar? I'm like, no, I'm not bipolar, but it's just this. And so now experiencing this through your coaching, I'm like, okay, if this is my natural state.
What if your natural state is to step away? What if you're not the fear? What if you're not? Because the reason why you have resistance to the fear, the reason why you don't want to feel it is because you make it mean something about you. You think you're the fear.
Yeah.
What is powerful, and I can see it now just observing you, is you're the being that's observing that. That's the reason why you're able to describe it to me.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because you're the one observing that. But when you feel it, you have this story that says, this is me. This is what I'm like now.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Instead of, so if a 5-year-old was coming to you and say, oh my God, I'm fearful. And you're like, holy shit, that's me too. Right? You wouldn't say that. But this is your 5-year-old pattern coming up. And it's coming up so it can be released. But what you're making that mean is saying, oh my God, I'm the fear. What if this is me all the time? instead of just giving that 5-year-old a hug,
Exactly.
right? Instead of giving that 5-year-old a hug and providing
Yeah,
unconditional
yeah,
love.
yeah.
So you can see this could be a huge
Sure.
shift. This can be a huge shift because as you avoid emotions, as you provide resistance to them, it cuts off your creativity that comes up, that's allowing to come up with some insights that's going to allow this client to reach huge results. Huge results.
Yeah.
You're like this infinite creative being that can have infinite possibilities and infinite amount of solutions. But the thing is, when you're scared to lose this, you cut off all that creativity. On the other hand, if you are totally, if you can love unconditionally the side of you that can be broke, all of a sudden there's no pressure. The pressure's gone. And all of a sudden you tap into that creative being. You tap into your source. You tap into your resourceful self, right? It's like I said before, if you truly do want something, you're not ready to receive it because you're like, I need to achieve that in order for me to be enough. But if you know and you feel in your body that you're enough, regardless of if you're broke or not, regardless if you're alone or not, regardless if this program fails or not, regardless if you have the client or not, all of a sudden you can just be who you are. Infinite creativity. You can tap into your passion, your resourcefulness, your love, your joy, your humor. Right?
Yeah.
And then the old metaphor, you can just be like the apple tree, right? If a natural apple tree just starts producing apples, could you imagine what an apple tree would be like if they produce an apple and says, "Oh my God, I don't want to produce this apple. I don't want it to be there." Right? Or what about if this apple fails? What about if this apple doesn't do anything with its life? If you were to just have this providing of space, you can just be like an apple tree where you just produce ideas, results, and you just this endless flow, right? That's when you feel in flow. You cut off your flow when you say, I need to achieve this in order to be enough. You cut off your flow when you have a fear that comes up or an uncomfortable emotion that you resist against, and you say, I shouldn't feel this way, or I shouldn't, it shouldn't be there and I don't like it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And this brings up another, I don't know, the fear, but that's kind of my natural state. When I'm in the flow, I'm coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take a step back and look at all my clients, the services I'm providing, look at my family, look at my volunteer work. It's abundant, right?
Yes.
But then sometimes maybe it's the same thing. Fear comes in of like, oh, I need to be focused on one thing. I need success in one thing, and that's what's going to get me to the next level. And so then I kind of go back and forth on that as well.
Now the fear doesn't come in, right? The fear doesn't come in from an external circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The fear comes from within because you have a story of how things should or shouldn't be.
Sure.
So when we have a fear, you may feel like a fear comes in because you're like, I should focus on one thing. That's an internal story that comes up that says, I need to focus on one thing or else everything's going to fail. Right? So it's a story that comes up. It's a story a pattern that you've developed through your childhood that says, this should be a certain way. And when it's not, I feel fear. Because if it's not this way, it's not my pattern to feel like I'm enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So when you're having when this fear comes up, literally the fear is coming up and it's surfacing so that it can be released. But what a lot of people do is the fear comes up and they make it wrong, or they say, I don't want to feel this way, so they repress it. And therefore it grows unconsciously. So whether they go distract themselves or whether they go try and get a result so they don't feel this way, something external, instead of the fear coming up and actually processing it. actually feeling it. It's really ironic. The moment you welcome the fear, and the moment you don't want to get rid of it, and you actually welcome it there, that's when it starts dissipating.
Yeah.
That's when it starts dissipating. When you can physically feel it in your body, and when you know physically that, not just intellectually, but physically in your body, in your hardwired almost in your biochemistry, that you don't want it to go, right? You don't need it to go. You don't need it to go because you know
Sure.
you're not the fear,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're just willing to feel whatever uncomfortable emotion comes your way, because you know when you do have an uncomfortable emotion, that's just a side of you, a 5-year-old you that hasn't been loved unconditionally yet. That's why you want it to be there. Does that make sense? Starting to put the pieces together?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I love how you're able to feel it, but even you've caught yourself when you say, yeah, I love it, and I want it, and I welcome it and allow it, but I still don't want it to be there. The moment you don't want it to be there, that's providing resistance, which is why it's there, which is why it remains there, because there's resistance to it. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. What are you feeling internally now?
Well, it's dissipated because I don't know why, but I've been listening to you. And
why do you think that is? Why do you think it dissipated?
I'm not focused on it. I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah.
So.
And now when you focus on the client and you focus on losing that client, what happens now?
Well, I mean, I'm not worried about losing a client, to be honest with you. I mean, that's a fear, but right now I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm thinking logically, but I'm thinking,
we're not thinking
forward.
We're not thinking
forward.
Yeah. We're not thinking at the moment. What we want to do is feel. We want to feel in our body. If you were to start your bank account starting to diminish and you start to go broke.
But I'm already broke. So that's the thing. I'm living month to month right now. So I have good paying clients, but then, so yeah. And so that is the state. A part of me feels fear, but talking with you through this session, I'm like, well, that's just the way it is. Don't worry about it, you know? Yeah. Because my needs are being met. I'm meeting the needs of my family. Through providing service and value to my clients. So.
Right. And so what I want you to understand is that when you have the difference between what you're thinking and what you're feeling, because you can think in your head about what's right and what's wrong, and I'm providing stuff for my family, don't worry about it. But what do you physically feel internally? If you were to go through and have no money, right, have all sources of income cut off, what does that physically feel like in your body?
Well, I'd probably feel nothing, actually.
Why do you think that is? What happened to the fear? What happened to the fear from before?
Well, it's not there now.
Because we understand things through metaphors. And what may have happened is, as you were allowing that to be there, and as you were linking to your 5-year-old self, that was the link, that was the metaphor that was able to unconsciously open up. Right, and understand what's actually going on. Now, the question is, if you were to love that side of you, love all sides of you, and love all the fear, the doubt, the stress, the anxiety that comes up, and do this exact same process, and start to feel in your body what it's like. And instead of resisting it, instead of avoiding it, instead of reacting to it, you just sit there and physically feel it. What happens
But I
is
can tell you, it's gone. It disappeared. And now when you ask me the question, when I visualize having no money, and no clients, it's almost like a cleansing experience.
yes.
I don't feel anything because it's
The reason why
nothing's
the reason why it's cleansing is because you're letting go of the story that says you need money and clients in order
Yeah.
to be enough. But what will happen, what you may find is what you're doing is you're developing a deeper connection with yourself.
Yeah.
That's the very connection you're wanting from other people. That's the very connection you wanted from having clients and a lot of money and changing the world and making these external results happen. But when you connect with yourself internally, you start being the apple tree. No matter what's happening externally, you're just producing apples, and you produce the creativity that's necessary, right? The creativity, it's like, I couldn't even think of these solutions before, but now everything's just coming to me of how I can blow this client out of the water, right? Because you're accessing a deeper side of you, because you know you're still that apple tree, regardless of what they do or not.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? That's why the emotion's starting to dissipate, because you're finally just welcoming it. Next time you catch the feeling and say, okay, this is an emotion, you're not going to go through the story of saying, I shouldn't feel this way. Right? You're going to go through the process of saying, this is a side of me I haven't loved unconditionally yet. This is an old story that I think of what needs to happen in order for me to feel like I'm enough. And you can just feel it, and you can just love that side of you. And as you do that, you connect with yourself at a deeper level. And then you access even more creativity, even more insight, even more resourcefulness. Right?
Yeah, it feels like just this activity we did just now, it feels like I made a little breakthrough, because what I was feeling before, that we were talking about, this fear and that pain and all that feeling, it's gone. And then the idea of not having anything, it's like, okay, use the apple tree. It doesn't matter, because now I'm still going to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. But you're accessing a different creativity. When you're doing what you're doing, you no longer have that internal conflict. Think of the pressure you're putting on yourself and other people putting on themselves when they say, I need to achieve this in order to feel like I'm enough. When you feel like you're enough and you're just in flow, right? The flow you were describing before.
Yeah.
That's when you access the creativity. When you're in flow, regardless of what happens externally, right? Think about this for the course as well, for the course for the English teaching. If you're just to create this incredible course, not even for other people, but just because that's what comes out of you. That's what's created from your flow, from your apple tree. That's what's created. And regardless if anyone goes through that, the still same level of creativity is coming out. Sure. Right? And if you try different things with this client, and no matter what's happening externally, things that are still happening internally, you're still in flow. What you may find is that your success is just a byproduct of you just being you, of you just being in flow. Success is just a byproduct, right? And you stop making all this mean what it means about your worthiness or your ability to be loved. You're just creating because you've solved those internal conflicts. And it's pretty crazy how in this one conversation, you can have a breakthrough and release that fear that may have been holding you, for the vast majority of your life. You think about if this is to be a practice, a daily practice, how many things can come up and be relieved and be resolved and be let go of, just so you can access a deeper side of you, just so you can have a different relationship with yourself. And you can start to think about what you can create externally because what you've created internally. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions about it?
So then how do I put this into practice?
Well, you already are. You already are. I mean, if you'd have this, we always get stuck in the how, but it happens naturally. This is just a natural thing, right?
Mhm.
Right? The apple tree doesn't say, how do I produce apples? It just produces apples. It's just
Sure.
nature brings up a way, like nature and the universe, whatever you want to call it, allows you to do this work because everything that you need to resolve internally will trigger you from an external circumstance. For example, being broke. Being broke will trigger you. So it's life saying this is something you need to solve internally. When you have a client that frustrates you, it's because you have a story internally of saying what things should or shouldn't be like. So
Sure.
the client is reminding you, the universe, life, whatever you want to call it, is reminding you what you need to solve internally.
Mm.
So this is the work. This is the work. This is the internal things that need to happen. So I always remind my clients to catch the feeling that comes up, the fear, the doubt, the stress, the anxiety, catch it, recognize it. So then you can start doing this work of actually feeling it. And you'll feel a different level of a relationship with yourself is what you described. And you'll be immensely surprised what can happen and what insightful ideas you can have when you no longer have this type of internal conflict, right? So I'd be happy to stay on even after this and answer any questions you do have. But man, this has been awesome. I highly thank you for just being willing to be open, honest, and vulnerable. I'm so glad you're able to tap into a deeper side of yourself. But do you have any initial questions that come up?
No, no. I think this has been very good. Thank you.
Okay.
It's
Awesome.
definitely helped me subside a lot of fears and
Awesome.
be at peace. Yeah.
That's the goal, isn't it? That's all we want. Whenever we want to achieve something external and we're pushing, hustling, whatever for it, we always got to ask ourselves, what are we trying to achieve internally by accomplishing this external? A lot of it is to do with peace and love and joy and
Sure.
Abundance and freedom. So you can feel all that internally. But thank you so much, man. I'll stop the recording, but I'm happy to chat to you after this as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. You're welcome.
Bye.